Hello, 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 y'all. I am fortunate enough to be here today with Lee. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Lee, but you guys know if he's here, there's a reason he's here. Lee, who are you and what the heck are you doing here today?
Well, I'm here. And I was the executive vice president of Walt Disney World operations for 10 years. I ran all the operations there. And going all the way back, I grew up in Oklahoma on a very poor farm. I had a kind of a dysfunctional life. My mother was married 5 times. She was kind of busy. And I've been adopted twice. I had my third name, Cockerell, my husband, number 4. And I've survived being married for 56 years. And my wife said she's going to stay. So husband number 4 had money. So I got to go to college. And I went for 2 years. And I was never a good student. So I promptly flunked out and went in the Army in 1964. And when I got out of the Army, I went to Washington, D.C. and got a job as a banquet waiter at the Washington Hilton Hotel 2 weeks before it opened. That's where President Reagan got shot back in 1981. And worked for Hilton 8 years in Washington, Chicago, the Waldorf Astoria in New York, Los Angeles. And then I left, ended up at Marriott for 17 years. I became the vice president of food and beverage operations there worldwide for them because by then I'd become an expert in food. I'd been a waiter, a cook, I'd done it all. I'd been in finance. That might be the best advice I give your listeners is become an expert in something and they're going to pick you because everybody's looking for somebody who knows what they're doing. And Marriott was great, stayed with them. Then I got recruited by Disney in 1990 to go to France and open Disneyland Paris.
Wow.
Spent 3 years there. My son married a French lady, and my wife and I came back to the U.S. I was made in charge of all operations at Disney World for about 10 years, and I retired when I was 62, and I've been retired 18 years. And I started a business doing teaching, workshops, all kinds of writing books. I've written 6 books. Pandemic gave me time to create the Cockerell Academy, which is an online subscription service for 10 courses on leadership, management, and customer service. Yeah. And now I live in Florida, which is hot as the dickens, and we're looking forward to winter. So that's my life. Yeah, I got one son. He's the CEO of Torrens University in Australia. And I have 3 grandkids who are 28, 26, and 23. And they like me better than their parents. So I'm in good shape.
There you go.
That's my life.
Love it. And so you kind of are at a very cool spot where you've kind of, accomplished it all, quote unquote, right? And you could do anything with your time and money, and you choose to go into this leadership business and build your own subscription model business. How did you go about making that decision when you could have done anything? You chose this in particular.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. I found something I love to do, which is teaching. And I think most teachers understand that. I didn't always understand that in my life, but I eventually came to the conclusion that when I teach, people appreciate it. I get great feedback. It's when you take something and teach it to other people, they appreciate you. And, feeling appreciated is a great feeling. So somebody said, "Why do you do what you do, Lee?" And I said, "Because people clap and I'm insecure." So but it's just fun. Every business thinks they're different, which they're not. And I try to help them understand how we're all the same. And it's effective, Leading people's hard. If you have children, you find that out too. Being a parent's hard. And so learning how to be better at it with more empathy and discipline and hard decisions, it's something people need to learn. And they don't always learn it at home, unfortunately. And so it turned out to be a pretty good business. Teach other people that they can be better and never too late to get better. You can start anytime. And so that's kind of why I do it. It gives me satisfaction and they pay me too. So that's.
And do you do a lot of speaking around that? Meaning going on stages or podcast guesting? Obviously you're here, so there's some public speaking. But
I do a lot. I've done maybe 700 since I retired all over the world. I was in the UK not long ago. I did one there for a finance group. I go to Australia. I even went to Baghdad during the war back in 2011, did 13 seminars for the Army.
Wow.
In the State Department. So it's all over and it's fun. And the reason I get asked to, I get an advantage because I work for Disney. People want to know what Disney people do. So if it was just Lee Cockerell, nobody would hire me. But since I work for Disney and Marriott and Hilton, which are 3 great names, I think it gives you credibility that you know something because I learned it from those great organizations which are still around. Disney's 100 years old this year. So and Marriott's Marriott too, I guess, is 100 years old. And Hilton is close, if not already 100 years old. So not many companies make it 100 years.
And so how often did you get to kind of interact one-on-one with Walt?
Walt died before I joined the company. He died back in 65, 66.
Right.
And he was a smoker, died of lung cancer. So for all the listeners, give up those cigarettes. But his philosophy and his spirit is felt through the company. He was a big risk taker and invested all his money in that Disneyland park, mortgaged his house. I mean,
Wow.
not many people have the courage. Something
Right.
brand new, this theme park nobody had ever heard of. So, and I would say Bill Marriott's spirit lives too in the Marriott Corporation. He's an amazing guy. They treat their people very well, and they really excel in customer service. And so you just think about those three founders, Conrad Hilton, Bill Marriott, and Walt Disney. Their drive for excellence lives on today. I mean, we stay in Hiltons, we stay in Marriotts, and we go to theme parks. So they got it right, I think. And now it's whether we can keep it going with the same emphasis as the key in life, because some companies get too focused on making money and not on delivering the service they started out with. And so that's always a big challenge. And
when they hired you at Disney, was there a specific problem that they had that they knew you already knew how to solve, as evidence as your work, at Marriott and Hilton? Or was there just kind of a role that they have, SOP, standard operating procedures, that they're like, hey, anybody that kind of knows their stuff with this guide can figure it out? Or what was that kind of journey like for you?
Well, yeah, joining Disneyland Paris, they were looking for an expert in the food and beverage business to open all the restaurants and to hire the chefs and restaurant managers and to develop the policies and procedures and operating guidelines. So that's how I came in. And then I came to Disney World, which was maybe we might say behind the times in those days. It was pretty autocratic, weren't keeping up with kind of all the improvements that were being made in culinary and hospitality and all. And so there was a lot to do there. And a lot of it was organizational change, new people, getting other people in, hiring great chefs instead of mediocre ones. And so it's the same thing. In those days, what had happened is Disney controlled the business because they had the money. They could go on television and have commercials. Then the internet came along. Anybody could go online and promote their business, a little hotel in the middle of nowhere. And so that's why we got really focused on improving the delivery of the experience. And so, that's mainly what I worked on when I got there. Yeah.
What was the main marketing channel that you guys used to promote Disneyland Paris when you guys were building that up? Because it started, nobody really knew what was going on. It was probably just a big construction that people were thinking, what's going on over here? It's something big. We don't really know. How did it go from that to where it is today?
Well, that's a good point, because it was not known. And most French and a lot of people in Europe had not grown up knowing Disney the way Americans do. And so that was a challenge, is to tell the story. And it didn't open successfully. I mean, it was a rough opening, and it took many years to get that down to where I would say the 5 or 6 big countries in Europe appreciated it and started coming. I mean, our business comes from France, Spain, UK, Ireland, Germany, but it didn't start that way. It took a long time for the public in Europe to become familiar with it and appreciate it. It was a long haul. We lost a lot of money in the first few years. Yeah.
So what did you guys do to that? I mean, how did you go from that tough moment of no brand awareness to now being, who knows about it?
Say when we opened, we were too American. Everything, we thought America was great. We could tell you how to do things. And we had to get more European, get the menus closer to what they wanted, the wine list, the prices. We were overpriced. So it was just tweaking, keep learning and changes and learning and changes. And when you're doing that, you're losing a lot of money, to figure out what the right recipe is. And so it was rough. It was rough.
And how did you make the decision to eventually retire?
Well, I'd worked for 40 some since I went to work in 1964. So about 1990 or 2006 is when I retired. It was enough. I was able to. Financially, I was able to retire, and I'd been doing the same thing for 10 years. It was kind of like, okay, there's got to be more. And I always thought about writing books and doing my own business and traveling. all those years I was working, it was hard to travel because my wife was people thought she was divorced because I was never home. And so that was it. And I retired and started the business and set up a website. And we traveled, and I wrote, because you can write a book from anywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. And I do a lot of remote presentations, which today is great because you can do them from anywhere. And so it just turned out to be something that I always wanted to do. And, I'd worked in corporate life for 40 years. Corporate life has got some positives, but it's got some negatives. It's a frustrating thing. You don't always have authority. You have to, you got the bottom line is always more important than anything else. So the stress and recessions and 9/11 and hurricanes, and it was enough. I was ready to go do something with less anxiety and pressure. And so, yeah, it was good. Yeah. I'm glad I did it. I had no regrets. Loved what I was doing because I got hired right away to start speaking and working with companies. And so I was lucky that I could get something that kept me happy and busy. Because I tell people, when you retire, make sure you got something to do because you can get bored really quick if you've been a busy person in your life.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what kind of guidance would you give that person that is kind of at that point where they know, okay, I'm kind of done with this. I want to retire, but I don't want to have boredom. I want to set something up that I know I'm going to the next step. What guidance do you have for that person?
Well, there's a lot of need for people to go out and to do seminars and teaching on things they are experts in. And I would say if people are listening, and if you're an expert in something, maybe stay focused on that every day. Read, go to websites, go to conferences, listen in, understand how to be better, and then start offering your services of what the key when you consult is tell the customer what you can do for them. And I tell them, I can improve your profits. I guarantee you, I can lower turnover because there's things that I know how to do and help you understand how you should be a better leader, what you should be doing, what you're not doing. And because I have all that experience from 3 great companies, and you got to convince people, and then you start doing it, and it takes on a life of its own. At first, I talked to churches and schools for free just to get practice, and then your word slowly gets out. Because when you talk to organizations in the community, there's always somebody sitting in the audience that hears you and says, oh, let's bring him to our company. And so I like those groups where there's a lot of business people sitting in the audience. And that happens in church too, by the way. They're out there, and there's a good chance when they hear you, they will hire you. And then have a good website. You've got to really I drive most of my business from social media and posting every day and about my books and about what I can do and what I'm available to do. So a lot of it just, social media, the power of it today is unbelievable. And I got a podcast with 500 episodes done over the last 10 years. Yeah, 15 minutes only. And people listen to them and they like them. And so you just learn. I didn't know anything about podcasting. I never even knew what it was when we started. And like anything, you learn. The more you use these things, you learn the opportunity. And every day there's some new thing coming out that you can use to market your business and let the world know about it. And so the tools are right in our computer, like you and I sitting here right now. I mean, that wouldn't have happened the other 20 years ago. So take advantage of what you know and what people are wanting to learn. There's an audience for your knowledge because somebody else is doing it. You may have more experience, more knowledge, and more answers for them on how to be more successful with their employees, with their customers, and with their profit. And yeah, consulting sometimes get a bad name, Oh, God, here we go. We got some other guy coming in to tell us what to do. But what you got to teach people is how to lead people, how to treat people, hire them right, and then how to train people and give them the knowledge so they can do a good job and then treat them right. A lot of businesses are not treating their people well, and the people quit and they leave and they walk away. Young people today are not going to put up with a lot of nonsense. They'll leave in a minute. And so you got to learn maybe to be a better person that thinks more about people than you do about your product, because without great people, you're not going to be great. There's no way. And I don't know if everybody's got that in their brain yet. You have to adapt because it has changed rapidly in the last 2 years. I mean, the whole world is different than it was. People don't just stay around and do what I say. Those days are gone.
What advice would you give to someone that is growing their business and maybe scaling their business, and they're looking to find A players, kind of like Disney recruited you? what guidance would you tell them of how the heck to find A players for your business and get those all-stars for your team?
Yeah, I think, the two most important things for me when I'm looking for somebody to work with is, do they have a real positive can-do attitude, and are they reliable? Are they organized? Can they get the work done? Can they put their head down and finish it? And then they either know the business, if it's IT, but you can learn that. But don't hire people unless they got a positive can-do attitude and they're going to be reliable. And most people are disorganized today, which is going to really hurt your business. You're going to have conflict because you give them, I need something by Thursday, and you don't get it. That reliability factor is a big deal for not only your reputation of your company, but for you personally. A lot of people get fired because they can't get things done. It's not because they don't know what to do. They just don't get it done. And that's what I would say. Take your time to find the right person. Don't hire too fast, because especially if you're a small business, you can't afford mistakes. It's costing you a lot of money, and you need people who can really be productive, can do two or three things. And I do everything, I'm organized. I got a guy I work with marketing. I got people in the Orlando area that when I have a problem, I call them. They help me out. And I got a good marketing guy, a good website. I met with my computer guy yesterday because I didn't know how to do something on my phone, and he taught me how. And you just got to have, there's certain people, certain expertise you need that you may not have. You got to be able to reach out to it quickly when you got a problem. And we know who those people are today. It's, social media. Somebody's really good at that, marketing, time management, whatever specialty you're looking for. Maybe it's hospitality or marketing or sales. You can find those people that out there that have a high interest in that. But you can hire a really smart person, knows a lot, but if they're disorganized, they got a bad attitude, you're not going to be happy. It's not going to work out. So I hate to say it's that simple, but in your life, people with a bad attitude, and you're going like, what? And people can never get it done on time. They always got an excuse. And obstacles out in the world are tough. And you got to get them done. You got to beat them. And you need those aggressive people who know how to go after it. And the other thing, you got to hire people that can have hard conversations with other people. A lot of people stop when they get to the hard line. Everything's good until it's really a hard conversation, so they don't have it. They let it go. And then next thing, you pile one problem on top of another, and then you got 10, and now you don't know how to deal with it. I tell people today, as soon as you got a problem, kill it. I don't care what it is. Get it out of your life before you go to bed tonight, because they pile up quick when you let one go. And if you have a bad person in your company, they can create a lot more problems for you. And so it can be exponential. And so I just say, you got a personal problem, a business problem, a health problem, fix it. Don't let it go. Don't hope it gets better. Don't pray it gets better. Don't wish it gets better. You just deal with it. And it'll be hard, because when you do the right things, it's usually hard. And hard things are usually the right things. I mean, we all know that. And we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, and they're a nice person. But still, at the end of the day, when you run a business, you got to focus on performance. People got to be able to do it. It's like the Olympics. You don't go to the Olympics if you're not a performer. And they work hard to be great. That's what you're looking for. People who are committed to be great. They want to do a good job because that's the way they're wired. And there's a lot of very good people out there, but they're not great. They're just good. There's a lot of average people, and there's a lot of great people. You got to get the right ones, and it's hard. You got to work it all the time.
I heard a quote from a mentor of mine. He said, your next level of business and personal development is in the work that you're avoiding. And I think it's totally
that's a good one. I like that. The magic is where you're ignoring it. If you went there, you would have success.
And you said hiring great people, awesome people that are doing awesome stuff. A lot of those people already are working for another company, kind of like you were working for Marriott. How did Disney come in with an offer that got you to say, hey, I'm done with Marriott or Hilton. I'm going to go to Disney now? Because a lot of business owners, maybe we're sitting here like, man, this guy would be perfect for this job. This person knows exactly how to solve this problem I have. They're years ahead of me with what they know how to do. It would bring my business from, 1 to 10. How do I make an offer so irresistible for that person that they're willing to give up and leave the job they're currently at and come join you?
Well, I think people got to realize people that have a great job are not looking for a job. People that are happy are not looking for a job. A big part of it's your reputation. You got to be known that when they do a background check or check on you, that they hear good things. It's a good company. It's successful. You might have to give them equity. You might have to give them more money. You might have to, I don't know what you might have to promise them, but it's hard. to take people that are really happy and get them over. So you got to really think about that deeply. And the reason I was able to go from Marriott at Disney was very attractive to me. And living in France really turned me on. I really loved moving to France and living in a foreign country. That was just perfect. If it had been Joe's restaurant company, I probably wouldn't have left. So you got your reputation, what people are saying about you, and what can you give them that, you got to find out each person what they're looking for. Are they looking for opportunity? Are they looking for more pay? Are they looking for more responsibility? Are they learning? I don't know. Some companies in America today are hiring kids and paying for their college education, to get them. So it's kind of an individual thing when you go after somebody. You got probably a lot of conversation for a few months of knowing who they are and figuring out what they're doing back and forth, and then making the offer that you've learned about, getting to know them if you're looking for a real expert in some other company. But it happens, we just saw big guys, the guy who ran Chipotle here in the U.S. just went over to, Starbucks. But he had, both the jobs were great. People who have self-confidence will take the risk. If you're good at what you do and you're known, even I come to you, work for you, and it doesn't work out, I'll find another job. So I got to give them comfort that, hey, it's not a big risk. I didn't think going to France was a big risk, frankly, after being married 17 years, because I figure, hey, if they fire me, I'll find something to do. There's another hotel company. There's a million companies out there that could use my expertise. And sometimes things don't work out. And I was not particularly happy at Marriott at the time. I'd been passed over for a big promotion that I thought I should have gotten, and I didn't get it. So my mindset was kind of, sometimes you catch people, right? Or they want to live where, you want to bring them to a place where, when I told my wife we could go to France, that was it. She was ready. And I was living in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is an industrial city. She saw Eiffel Tower. So people are willing to do certain things at different ages. I was 48 then, so I'd been there. But, sometimes when you're young, you're insecure and you're not willing to take the risk. A lot of people stay in a job they don't particularly like for the rest of their life, and they're experts at it, but they're afraid to move. And I'd say that's the biggest problem. People got to get over the insecurity, take the risk, because you may be giving up an average life for a great life. And just make sure you're an expert. I tell you, experts don't have any problem getting jobs. When you're the guy everybody knows, you're the go-to, you know the answers, you'll always find something somewhere in the world. Yeah.
And once you made that decision to retire and do your own thing, did you have clarity with what you were going to do after you retired before you officially retired? Or did you retire and then got bored? You're like, oh, I got to figure something out. I got to, sink my teeth into something here.
I started thinking about it while I was still working. And I'd always wanted to write. I thought I could write a book because I had so much good experience. And so I'd already written a lot. And it just and then I found a lady who wanted to publish my books, which was a friend of the family. And that happened. And then I just, but this was 2006. I knew a guy who worked for Disney who set up websites. So he did one for me. And I put on there what I teach. And so it just I learned as I went. And as I gave speeches, I liked it a lot. So it kind of got bigger. I would say 50% I knew what I wanted to do, but I never knew what it was going to turn into. I think that happens with most people. You never know what's going to come around the corner. But most people know what they're good at and how they can make a difference. And if you got that attitude and reliability and you got good knowledge, people got to know more if they're going to be more. They got to do more. They got to know more. You got to learn more these days. I mean, it's happening so fast now that if you don't keep up, you get irrelevant. And if you don't have that attitude to keep up, and I'm old. All these are shocks to me. That's why I have these guys, experts that I work with. They come and teach me. Technology's taken over everything. If you want to order a hamburger someplace, you got to go on the do it yourself and use the technology. Or if you want just about anything you do in your life today, every company is making us do it ourselves. Pay your bills online, education online, going to college online. I went to YouTube and figured out how to change the light bulb in my car. Anything you want to know is there. So I tell people, if you don't know something, it's your own fault. It's at your fingertips. I read every night, and I spend half the night looking up words I didn't know what they meant. And so anything you want to know. So I get to that word, I can either go pass it over, still not know, or I can look it up. And then I go, oh, that's what that means. Okay. So we've got the tools are, anything you want to know right now, you can tell me the answer to in 5 minutes. So people need to take advantage of that. That's an amazing thing. And it doesn't cost you anything. And I think most education is going to be done online going forward because nobody can afford to go to the campuses. They're so expensive. And kids are comfortable on a 3-inch screen. They're comfortable learning all the time. So times are changing and got to make sure us old guys keep up.
And so you touched on an interesting point there. What do you think is going to be the impact of all this information is online? A lot of it is free. What impact is that going to have on the formal education systems, everything from K through 12 to, college and then thereafter with, masters, doctorates, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think it depends. If you got public education where it's paid by taxes, I think, 1 through 12 will probably still go to the classroom and learn from a educated teacher. A lot of parents in the U.S. Homeschool their kids. There are programs for that you can go online and it tells you how to follow it. I'm not a big fan of that. I think kids need exposure to the real world out there, somebody that doesn't like them in class and learning to discipline. I think you end up with a student that has more ability to handle everything in their life if they get out in the world and find out what it's all about. And I thought about it. I had a girlfriend when I was in 6th grade. How are you going to get a girlfriend if you're homeschooled? Can't date your sister. And the schools are getting less attendance. All the colleges in America are getting less attendance. So they're cutting back because mainly men are cutting back and going to college. Women are accelerating. So it's going. Then a lot of people are learning they can do a trade. They can get into IT. They can get into technology, get into carpentry. I got a guy right now replacing my shower. It's all worn out. I say it's going to cost me a fortune. He's doing just fine. And being able to do something, mechanic, fix things, because it's hard to find anybody who can fix anything anymore. And they charge a lot. So there's opportunity out there. If you know something, if you're an expert at something, but you got to do one or the other. You either go to school and get the knowledge so you can get a job with a company or something like that, or you start becoming an expert as early as you can, like working on whatever. IT, I think a lot of young people are going to have a lot of skill of knowing how to do everything and with that technology. So it's just some people are not wired to go to college either. I wasn't. I was not a good student. I didn't know how to study. My parents didn't pay attention to that. And I learned better by doing. And that's why I took a job and I learned it. Got another job and I learned it. And other people, and I think there's a room for both, going to class and learning, on the job experience and classroom. So I think you're going to see it morph into some new system, where you go to school half a day and you go work for somebody half a day. And who knows?
Yeah.
But the economy is going to drive what you do, because there's going to be jobs that are going to pay a lot of money and kids are going to say, I'm going to do that. So you go do that, the economy drives everything in the direction where we can all be better. And as you get older, you learn something you need to be better in, all of a sudden when I was 40, I was not a good public speaker, and I learned, hey, I got to this is important. And I didn't want to do it because I'm insecure about it. And I didn't want to get up in front of audience. I was like about to kill myself, and just had to start doing it. And it paid off because now I make money doing it. And I like it. So I would say most people need to do what they hate to do. They got to force themselves through it. It's like asking that girl for the first date. You just got to do it. You can't have your friend do it for you. And that's always the problem, is being insecure about doing something because you're afraid of being embarrassed. But there's so many things we got to force ourselves to do. And hopefully you have people who will support you and give you encouragement and be there for you. And we can't do it alone. And I can tell you, my wife's my big supporter. She's still trying to make me be better. So, you just got to never underestimate what you can achieve. I'm going to tell you, if you'd told me back when I lived in Oklahoma I was going to run Disney World operations, I would have said, you are the craziest person that ever lived. You just can't imagine what you can become. You can't imagine. And it happens over 50 years. It just happened. One job, another job, another job, another job. You get experience, you get exposure, you get education. Next thing you know, people want you. And I'm telling you, people don't know what you know for sure, but they know if you have a good attitude and you're reliable, that'll get you in the door. And then, as they say, you can fake it for a while until you learn.
And You mentioned a little bit there how when you first started public speaking, you did not like it. And I do think there are some people that it comes naturally to them, but there are other people like sounds like you and sounds like me where we started and we were really scared. It was very intimidating. I don't know if it's something biological where you get in front of people on a stage and your heart just starts to beat, even though you're like, I'm not supposed to be nervous. I know all these people, what's going on? So how did you kind of, take that fear that I've heard people fear public
Yeah.
speaking more than death? How did you take that and kind of go with it to bring it to where you are
I
now?
forced myself to practice on my employees, and I'd go speak to schools, students. I speak to a church, give a speech about service or about the hospitality business. I just found places where I could practice, and then I got in my mind 10 things I like to talk about, and they're there, and you don't have to prepare a speech. Don't let anybody write a speech for you. Talk about what you're inspired about. Talk about something you really care about. And you can talk all day long. And because they don't know what you were going to say anyway. So you don't have to worry about forgetting anything. You just go blah, blah, blah. And you can have a little card with 5 points you want to make and talk about it. Because if you know your stuff and you're inspired, you can talk all day long. And I say that's what helped me. After every speech I give, I always think about 3 things I forgot to say. Yeah, but they don't know. So it's okay. So it's an insecurity, I think, that it's a bigger deal than we think it is. And start with small groups, little 5 people, talk to them about something. And so like anything, the more you do it, the better you get. That's just the way it is. You can go online and learn about techniques and all that. But generally, you just do it. And same old story, do what you don't want to do and you'll get better at it. And yeah.
And for you and what you're doing now, it sounds like you're doing a few different activities that are generating revenue and income for you. You're doing the consulting, you're getting, speaking gigs that you're getting paid for the gig, you're selling the books, you're selling subscription access to your academy. How are you balancing all of that now? And what does your team look like if you have a team that helps you build all of that?
Yeah, I have one guy that called me 10 years ago and we started the podcast together, and he and I do it. And I kind of have got it where he does all the stuff I don't want to do, like, editing the podcast and pushing them out and promoting them. And when we did the Cockerell Academy, the 10 courses, we did it during the pandemic because we had nothing better to do. And so I just talk and he takes notes and produces all the material. And he hires a graphic person, an editor sometimes, or other people. And I started out, I told him, we can do anything, but I don't do any work. I just talk. You get the stuff down, you get it, you publish it. So everything of mine is, he's really the key guy. And we got one other guy we're working with now and helping us on sales, but I don't pay them anything. They get a piece of what they book. They get a percentage. And it's just, I'm telling you, once you do something that you didn't know you could do, then you do another one. I wrote the first book. Oh, man, it took 2 years. I thought I was going to have a hit. And the next one only took 9 months. And then the next one was very quick. So all of a sudden I got into it and I got knowing, and I had a good editor that edited it for me and put the commas in the right place and the punctuation. And I hired somebody to do that. And so once you have success, you get more confident. And it's really lack of confidence that holds most of us back. We don't do things, we just think, I can't do it. And I will tell you, you don't underestimate your influence and don't underestimate what you can do, because if you just push through the resistance, a year from now, you'll be doing something you didn't think you could do. And you know that already in your life. You're doing things you never thought about. And we just got to take on more. Don't underestimate it. And find people to help you. And there's a lot of people on the internet that can help. You can ask for advice. Actually, sometimes I put a note out and ask for something. I get a million things back, people tell me. Yeah, literally, it's me. And then with AI, let me tell you, you can go in there and ask a question. And it'll go out there and it'll answer any question you want. And then you tweak it, fill it in, and make it look like yours. And, I say, the other day I told AI to write me 1,000 words on how to have a successful career. And it just pounded it out in 10 seconds. And then I went through and added mine. I took some out and put this in, took that out and put that in. It's pretty amazing. It's mind-boggling, actually. It's scary. And it sounded like me. And there's a translation device where my videos, I speak into this website and it comes out in Spanish and Portuguese and my lips are moving exactly. It goes back and finds speeches of you and manipulates your lips so it sounds like I'm speaking Spanish perfect. and Portuguese, where I have a lot of business in Brazil. So that was like, I'm going like, what? What, the problem is most people don't know what's available. You got to really keep up because there's stuff you can do you didn't even know existed. And I still don't know it. I mean, but to be able to, if I want to write something for my people in Brazil, I go on there, does the total translation. I have a newsletter that goes out in Portuguese and Spanish every month. But the internet does it. Takes mine in English and translates it. So it's huge opportunities that we don't know about sometimes. So pay attention to that.
Yeah, getting that initial awareness of it, listening to things like this where people like you, share about it and learn about it, help people learn about it.
You could put a note on the internet and say, can somebody teach me how to use this AI? You'll get 20 people call you. They'll say, yeah, I'll show you. We got a class. It's going to be online next week. Here's the website.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there have knowledge we don't have, and they want it and they get it. Yeah. You learn faster today than we did in the old days. Yeah.
Yeah. With the access to information and everything. Two more questions for you, because I know we're coming close on time here.
Yeah.
Where, if someone is listening here and they're thinking, wow, I got so much value from what Lee's been sharing, where can I find him on the internet? I would love to follow him, connect with him, get on his email list, whatever it is.
Yeah, you can go to leecockerell.com, and my website's got everything I do on it. And we have another website called CockerellAcademy.com, which are all the courses and things. Yeah. And I mean, if you want to see me speaking and you go to YouTube, they're there. Just put Lee Cockerell YouTube, and all this stuff is there. So it's not hard to find it. Or you can Google me. I make sure I get all into the internet. I'm everywhere because exposure, and people got to know who you are. So yeah, it's easy to find. And if you're going to be in business, you got to have a good website that's got people find something that's of value to them. Yeah. So all my books are on there. Everything's on there.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Now, last question. What final piece of advice from your years of experience, not only building your speaking business and your academy and your consulting business now today, but also your, I think as you said, 15 years running and being in charge of Disneyland Paris and, all this experience you had, what is one piece of advice you'd give to the aspiring speaker, the professional speaker, or the entrepreneur that speaks to grow their business?
Yeah, I think you can't live in a safety zone. You've got to evaluate what you know, what you can do, and how good you are at it, and take the risk. I left Hilton, I left Marriott, I left the Army, I left Disney, and if you're good, you're good and you know your stuff, go take on other things, and don't sit in your village for the rest of your life where nothing's going to change. I tell graduates today, as soon as you graduate, get out of your village, go to the big city, go to London, go to Dublin, go to LA, New York. That's where you're going to learn about. That's where the connections are. And a lot of people don't want to because your mother wants you to stay in the village. But it's your life. And again, I'll say the last thing, don't underestimate what you can achieve. It's far more than you believe if you just get going. It's a shock. You can do just about anything you want to do. And people don't believe that, but you can. We see it every day. See it every day.
Well, thank you for taking the time to make this happen, Lee. And for everybody listening, if you think you've got a friend or anybody in business that would find Lee's experience that he's sharing here today valuable, just share this with them. You never know, it might give them that one little nugget they needed to take that decision, make that decision to change their life, bring it to where they want to go in 10 years. Just do them the favor. And Lee, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, guys, thanks. That was fun. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, y'all. Cheers, Lee.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.